Hello and welcome to Eternal Durdles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me as always, Phil Bleckman. Phil, guess who we've got on today?
Bro, please let me know who we have joining us today.
Right down below us, Nathan Golding. Nate, how's it going?
Good.
Well, when I edit this, you'll be right. You'll be right underneath of us. It'll be
awesome.
It'll be me, Phil, and then you'll be right here.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back. Obviously, we talk all the time still, but I don't record the podcast. So it's good to come back when I get a chance.
We call you the consultant.
Yeah.
We only bring you on when there's nothing of note to talk about, Nate. So it's going to be a pretty passive episode.
We're going to talk about like my, if it's not related to the actual game, I can talk about it. I played Legacy recently.
What did you played the Reanimator in those leagues, right?
And I played Reanimator. I logged into my Magic Online account for the first time in a couple months. I was like, I feel like playing Magic. And I saw how many play points I had, and I was like, I'm gonna play something where I can like 5-0 elite real fast, maybe, and try and double these. And so I played Reanimator, but instead I went 1-4. Yeah. And it was like just like total luck of the draw Reanimator stuff, where it's like, nope, like they were like ready for everything I was gonna do. All like my first matchup was against like blue, red, white Delver, which meant that it was Delver with Swords to Plowshares, which meant that like what's that guy, the Archon of whatever, just eats Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, just eats the Swords to Plowshares. Like if they don't have Swords to Plowshares in their deck, that card is awesome, but they did. So
I do think I played against we all play against Reanimator every so often, pretty often. I played against it at my local.
Too often.
And my opponent casually has, Unmask and Grief, both turn ones, just to put Grizzlebrand into play. And I was just like thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know. I get that when you sleeve up Reanimator, you're not necessarily looking for a good time. No. But does anybody but even still, it's like, I feel like if you put a fatty into play on turn one, now that you have 8 unmask effects, I feel like Grizzlebrand could probably have been on the block going forward. Like, have it be that it's not just a force check deck, even when a force isn't good enough anymore. It's just like, okay, like let's just open our 7s and see what happens.
You can't grief yourself, but you can reanimate grief, which is actually kind of as good as griefing yourself, because you'll take their interaction, and then on the way back in, you can take their way to deal with grief. And then it's a 4/3, you got 5 turns. And then you can also rebuild from there. So it's a pretty good card.
If you grief them, if you're effectively mind twisting them if you grief them twice before they draw.
Right. So I mean, I was just saying, like, it was like, I think I played against that, and I played against like a deck, one of those bug decks that like has Scavenging Ooze in it. Like, fuck.
Oh wow, throwbacks to the Scooze days.
All right, whatever. And then I built another deck. I built a deck that was, because I wanted to play Burning Inquiry with Sheoldred. I thought that'd be very funny. And then I put like Arclight Phoenix in it and Torok, and that actually was pretty good. I think I went 5-5 over 2 leagues with like a deck that is pretty stupid. Like it's a Burning Inquiry, Dark Ritual deck. Like, and I was winning more games than with Reanimator. I did not do that.
So, something I wanted to point out is just a second ago, Nate said something amazing. Scooze Days. And all I could think of is See You Next Scooze Days, which is what we're renaming the podcast to now.
Yeah, there we go. But I didn't get to do it with Sheoldred. I just got to do it. But like turn 3 or turn 2 with a Lotus Petal, like Torok into Burning Inquiry is actually pretty cool. Like,
yeah, that is sweet.
Yeah, and then like I had Arclight Phoenix in my backup plan to those things, and it was okay. Like I did a couple like Unmasked Buried Alive turns too, so it was pretty fun. It needed a lot of work, but yeah, I actually went 5-5 with it, which was better than I expected.
When Sheoldred was first spoiled, and we talked about it on the I guess the preview episode of that set.
We've only been having the last like 7 episodes have been preview episodes.
When we did that for Sheoldred, we had called that it wasn't gonna, have too many homes. I was like, if it sees play, it's gonna see play alongside like wheel effects or such things like Burning Inquiry. But now it like found a home as like the Doomsday sideboard plan, and it's like slowly increasing its play as just like a ways to punish the fact that like Legacy is a blue cantrip format, and it's just like very good against those types of things. When you first saw it, let's just like backtrack to that episode real quick. When you first saw Sheoldred, would you have agreed with us then, or would you have been like, you guys are crazy, it's going to have way more homes?
I think it has more homes than just. I would have definitely said it's a good sideboard plan for Doomsday. And in fact, that was one of the matches I lost. Like I won the first game because, as I've said a zillion times, Doomsday cannot beat a Thoughtseize, and no one plays Thoughtseize. Like, what are you doing? Let them cast Doomsday, then cast Thoughtseize. They're not going to do anything. They also can't beat a Burning Inquiry after Doomsday. But in games 2 and 3, they got their shouldered out first. And Burning Inquiry being a symmetrical card means it really, really takes the shine off that card. Also, Faithless Looting, which was in my deck, is really bad against children. So, yes, I did lose that. I do think my first thought was like Lake of the Dead, because that makes 4 mana.
That's
like maybe that's like an idea. Like I looked at those mono black. There's a lot of those mono black decks that do that kind of stuff.
You gotta wait till turn 3 though.
Yeah, but like you're gonna spend the first. You're gonna go like Thoughtseize you, him you, Lake of the Dead, Shuldred, you know, and then like now you're on a clock with no hand. And then, you know, I was just like, but I didn't have the like wherewithal to put all that together. I just kind of was like, I want to take like Dark Ritual's also good with it, so I just like take my favorite package, which is Buried Alive Arclay Phoenix, and then match this to it. No, I think it's good, and that's the kind of card I like. Like I think it's an interesting card. It's a 4 mana 4/5, and like yeah, it's like it's pretty game over when it hits the table, but it's not unbeatable. And it's got a lot of interesting knock-on effects, like Sylvan Library. There's another thing that I saw that card. I was like, oh, this week it was Sylvan Library. Because you're just going to gain 6 life a turn, and then you can just draw 2 cards a turn and gain 2 life a turn if you really wanted to. So
pretty good.
Yeah. And it gets the game to the end of the game. But yeah, I mean, no, so I did play Legacy, but like I don't actually, it was actually kind of nice because I was like looking at the format the past couple months and like all the cards are being printed. I'm like, I don't want to play against any of these cards. I don't understand any of them. I don't understand this like you get a fucking tilt-a-whirl into play.
No, I can't. Whoa, it's too much, man.
Here's let me just say for the Unfinity cards, I actually am going to play Attraction Zombies at some point at FNM. Like that shit actually looks. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like it's gonna be a nightmare to figure out all the die rolling, but I'm definitely doing it.
Well, it's also like it takes you out of it, and like even like I know you like Warhammer and stuff, but I'm just like I mean some of the stuff is cool, but I don't
like Warhammer.
Why do the cards look like that?
I know
played
nothing
Warhammer
about Warhammer
20 years ago.
I know nothing about Warhammer. I'm just really excited that we finally got a miracle. But that whole thing about like us finally getting a miracle since literal first Innistrad was I was always peeved me that the Storm Scale is literally called the Storm Scale. But Storm has gotten so many good Storm cards. But Miracle on nothing until now.
And they had the chance. They've had gods in like 10 sets.
Yeah.
Like they had them in Theros, Amonkhet, and they're like in Theros or in Amonkhet. They're in like I guess you could like even say like Ixalan has got. This is how out of touch I am. Last time I was on, we talked about Streets of New Capenna. I cannot name a single card from that set now.
Dude, what are you talking about? This is a great segue into the topic of let's dive into the ban list or the lack thereof, because they mentioned Ledger Shredder in the ban list announcement.
Oh, that's in Street. I honestly didn't know. I did not know it was in Streets.
That's a card I pulled out. Right. I pulled out of thin air. I think everybody else was like, I don't know. I don't see it.
Also, Unlicensed Hearse has proven itself as like an all-time great graveyard hate card. So
yeah.
Well, I do think I can't name those cards, but I could not name the set. And my point being like, are these are they in the actual set? Are they in the Commander version? Are they in like some other product? I can't tell where any
That's
cards
the hardest part for me is like where, especially like
what set is this in?
Like I play Commander, and like sometimes I'm like, okay, I have that card. I'm positive. Like where did I organize it? Like, is it a Commander card or you know?
But should be
quick sidebar before we talk about the ban list. Have you heard about Heritage?
I have heard about Heritage.
Yes.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, we should talk about it right now because we'll talk about the ban list or the lack thereof. And like, you know, I didn't expect them to do anything for Legacy because I don't think they care. They don't care about Legacy. What do they even have to do? I'm
inclined to believe you after reading the announcement.
They have no reason to care about it. They have no one who wants to care about it. There are so many formats. They have a ton of formats. Remember, it used to be like we got to keep it simple. Again, they just break all their rules all the time. And like I was just thinking the other day, like, okay, well, what formats are there? There's there's modern and standard in this.
There we go. There's 2.
Right. There's modern and standard ban list, but I'm like, okay, it's like an old fashioned ban list. Then I remember, wait a minute, there's like 20 formats that they actually support because like on Arena
there's stuff. Yeah.
Arena's got like Explorer and Historic and like
Explorer, I think
Alchemy.
the goal for Explorer, my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is that Explorer is a temporary format until they get all of the
Till
cards
Pioneer,
programmed into
yeah.
Arena to be Pioneer.
Well, that's
So-
fine, but like, you know, Pioneer, like, I don't know, like, I don't know. I'm just saying that like they're not, the Legacy does not cost them anything. It doesn't cost them anything to program a couple challenges into Magic Online and, you know, basically just make free money off of it. They don't need to curate it. But the thing is, they cannot help themselves, which they always can't help themselves, which makes it so funny that they had to comment on Legacy and say why they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
When we all know the answer is they didn't think about it until like they're like, oh shit, like a bunch of people are asking if there's
Somebody
a
write
Legacy
it up.
ban.
Somebody write it up.
And then they come in with like, yes, oh, there's these oh, well, totally, we got this much data, we got this data says this, and like, look, I mean, I don't.
Can I offer you this ley line binding?
I
trouble.
I think
card
like-
I did that. If you had told me that card came out 6 years ago, I would have believed you. That's the other thing. Like Leyline Binding, it's like, what the fuck did they? It's only because like I was like, is this a new card? Like I read it and I was like, was this in like the first Dominaria or something? Like, when did they do Domain? Was it in a Commander set? I didn't know it just came out. If you had told me it came out 5 years ago, I would have believed you. But it said it was a new card, and like, you know, so they just don't care. They don't obviously don't pay attention. It belies their idea that their data makes sense for them to say that these cards are making sense. So like, what that if Leyline Binding is not in decks that you're telling us about, it's not in decks that Joe's looking at for his project.
No.
So like, where are you seeing it? It's like, so it's obvious they don't care. And so to me, you talk about Heritage Fill, which is supposed to be the Legacy format that doesn't include any of the supplemental sets, right? And they're gonna do a tournament for this thing. And I think that's the future, because there's no support for Legacy. There's no big tournament, like unless someone organizes a big Legacy tournament on their own, it's not getting done. Like the Legacy Pit has to do it, or some store has to want to do it.
Yeah, so they can create their own rules, obviously.
Right, and like, okay, so like how many Legacy? There hasn't been an Eternal weekend, right?
No
Like,
Legacy players care about their DCI points, not that that's a thing anymore.
Right.
Like, Sanctioned
preface,
Magic doesn't mean anything to Legacy players at this point.
just
right?
to preface that Heritage is everything. It's exactly Legacy, except it bans all supplemental products. So no supplemental products in the format.
So no,
And it has to go through
True Name
standard.
Nemesis. True Name Nemesis is not in.
True Name Nemesis is gone. Every single thing from Commander is gone. It is effectively all of the decks that you would see are archetypically may be similar, but are entirely different. Like Modern Horizons is not in the format. All of the Commander products are not in the format. Literally, there is no deck that currently exists in Legacy would look anywhere similar to what it would in Heritage, except for maybe Green White Depths. Because
So I
all the
was gonna-
Commander went through.
Well, you can play
standard.
Rug Delver. Like you just play. You just pick up the list. For
I
10
was gonna
years ago.
crap on this idea because I hate the idea of like a curated format that's not like set in stone. Like, you know, like pre-modern's fine because it's like that's what it is. I generally hate the idea of like, okay, we're gonna create our own ban list and we'll be, you know, like, but this makes sense. And it's something that like you don't have to, you know, like sure your friends can play it amongst themselves. There's not gonna be an F&M at your local that's gonna be this. But if a big event happens that's like, hey, we're doing the Heritage format, yeah, I would play.
In the first, let me give you a little insight into the personal news when Heritage was announced as something people were interested in. If it takes off, obviously, I would play it. I like playing with Brainstorm. I'd play it. The first time since Top is banned, we get a miracle that I think is fucking awesome. And then everybody is like, let's start a new format where I can't play with that miracle. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason I'm saying it's the future is because at some point that's what it's going to be. Like, first of all, we also should acknowledge that Magic Online Legacy is a sub format to Legacy because there are barriers of. I know this is stupid, but I just wait for them to put Sproutback Trudge on Magic Online so I can see if this idea I have is any good.
Yeah, because there's a lot of cards that just aren't even on there yet.
They're just not on Magic Online.
Dude, think about it like this though. Sproutback Trudge, is that the name of the card?
Yeah.
It sees just as much play as Leyline Binding.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, 'cause I don't want to get this card, and because I don't really feel like driving to the Legacy Weekly and trying to play this card. Though maybe I will, because I really am like obsessed with this idea. But then I gotta get all the cards. I don't want to do that. On Magic Online, I can just play it. But yeah, I don't think Magic Online is already a sub format to Legacy. You're not going to see, and that's of course gets back. We've talked about this back when I was on regularly. Like, what is the Legacy format? Is it the online? Is it paper? Like, is it this? Is it this? And there is no identity. So what can you do? And I think that like the future of the format, such as it is going to be these sort of boutique formats where people are just like, if we don't enjoy playing the Legacy format as it is, like you said, there's no reason to. There's no like path to qualification for something greater. There's not even like a third party doing that. There's no Star City Tour where Legacy is a thing anymore. And like, if you don't want to play against, look, I'm sorry, I know there are people do. If you don't want to play against fucking Starscream, you don't have to. You just say like, we're not doing that.
I love the fact that they were like, there's all these people after Warhammer 40K are like, no guns in my Magic game, and then they were like, yo, Megatron.
Yeah, we're gonna put a fucking
how about a gun?
How about an 18-wheeler? Like instead.
Like literally a transformer that just transforms into a gun.
I don't think there's anything. I mean, they could do it, and that's the other thing. Like they can do. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. They're gonna do whatever they want, but like they are signaling that this is what they think. Like, you want to play the Magic Online. These are the terms. You're not going to get all the cards. You're not going to get your ban list updated. But that's one kind of way to play with these cards. And the other way would be like, you could play this rule offline and let you play Mind Goblin and fucking like Shockwave or whatever. But like, you don't have to do that either if you really don't want to, because there's no reason to. You just say like, okay, we're running this tournament. We're going to call the format this. And I swear to God, Zach, you could back up. This used to be this is kind of how things were at the start. I talked a few times about a tournament I played when I was a kid that had basically only expensive cards banned, which at the time did not.
Oh yeah, I remember there was a tournament I played where like somebody banned all the Circle of Protections. I was like, who hurt you?
I remember that was on. It was on the thing. Like another cards can be banned at discretion. I don't know if that exists or if it even matters, because, like I said, does sanctioning even matter? I don't know. So like, I just think that's the future. If that's after a few more years of this, because you saw it. I mean, it already happened with old school and pre-modern, middle school. The people who did the Legacy pre-war stuff, they did that for a while, and then they were kind of hoping that Wizards would come to their senses, but instead you're not going to, because they're not incentivized to. They're incentivized to make as much money out of this thing as possible. And that's going to mean that you're going to get stuff that fundamentally alters what the game feels like.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't want to jump right into the next topic immediately, because that is, I think they are related to an extent. The Legacy ban list is just never going to be on the top of mind for them. Like, they just don't care.
Yeah.
They don't need to care. Only complete psychos like us care. And I played Legacy this week for the first time in, like, I don't know, 2 months. So what do they care?
Yeah. I want to point out that, like, again, a lot of I feel like the issues, particularly with the announcement of like no bans on the ban list, and then them pointing out cards that they believe are making an impact, when anybody who's played the format goes, that's not true. There's no way that can be true. Is, again, whatever data they're looking at, that they pulled the Blue-Red Delvers at 9% of the format, when every challenge shows that it's like in the 20s or whatever the fuck. Again, it comes down to transparency. When if they just were like, this is the data set that we looked at and the time frame with which we looked at it to determine no changes. That way we could all look at the data that they're looking at too. And then whether or not we agree with the determination using that data, at least we can go, okay, we see where you're looking and get this idea of there not needing to be changes. Even if we disagree with it, we can understand at least where your mind is, as opposed to being like, what are you talking about? Leyline binding has never made an impact at all. That's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense at all.
What else is on that list? I'm gonna look it up.
So, essentially, like, if they were just, rather than just saying, we think it's fine, here's where the numbers are, when, particularly if they're not looking at it all that closely, like if they're not following the format as closely as the players who are playing it are, rather than telling us what their data says, just tell us what the data is.
Yeah.
Like, let us see it. It's like, if we can just see those numbers, then nobody will question. Like, we may disagree with it, but that's a whole different conversation. If we disagree with it, that's actually a constructive conversation to have.
I think WotC suffers from the classic corporate mindset of there are just a very few loud people and this
But
isn't
that's not that. There's no way that can be totally the case because
it's
when it comes to
not.
Pauper,
It's not. But
they
I'm
are,
saying
they are
that's how
entirely
they're
open
looking.
when it comes to Pauper.
They're looking at it very cynically. They're like, there's a lot of people who are loud that are the minority of the people playing. That's what they think. But I think overall,
also
like
bullshit,
everybody, of course.
Where are the games? This is what. Sorry, this is one of my bugaboos. They keep saying, "Well, most Magic isn't played by super competitive." Then where are they playing it? Where are they playing it? Like, where is it?
No, this is the Magic that counts. Like for that, for like kitchen table Magic is whatever. There doesn't need to be a ban list for kitchen table
Magic.
But it doesn't. That's irrelevant because this isn't kitchen table Magic. This is the tiny percent of Magic that is being played in tournament scenarios that they do actually have to pay attention to, and they do have to make decisions on. So that argument means nothing to me because there can be 1,000 people playing at the kitchen table, the 1,000 times 1,000 playing at the kitchen table. It doesn't matter because this is Legacy. This is the Legacy ban list. These are the people that are playing that format. They're not playing at the kitchen table, so it's not the minority. We are the majority of this minority format. Like that makes no sense.
The corporate thing and like they need to make money and Legacy doesn't make the money. Pauper doesn't make the money.
No, well of course, but
they are so open when it comes to talking about Pauper. Why they're making the decision,
there is a
going
Pauper
deep into
panel. That's not them. That's the Pauper panel. They were like, we don't.
But I'm saying, what is the point of like? What is the sandbagging of doing? I mean, not necessarily panels, but literally anything similar to that with any of the other formats if they don't follow it. Because when they,
I can tell you the answer
because they've got.
I can tell you the answer. There is a definitive answer to this, Phil. It is because Legacy is a Wizards created format and Pauper is a fan created format. Same thing with
when they came out when they came out with the Pauper format, they said that we're making the panel because we don't have anybody in the building in R&D that follows Pauper closely enough to make.
We've established what they say and what they do are two different things.
Well, hold on a second. But
they don't have that for Legacy either. But they say that they do have players in R&D that care about Legacy that play Legacy, but clearly not close enough.
Yeah.
The past year has brought several new impactful cards to competitive Legacy, including Unlicensed Hearse, true. Table of the Mirror Breaker, true. Ledger Shredder, Leyland Binding, untrue. And everyone sees on Leyland Binding. I think Ledger Shredder, like you kind of fall off the cliff. I know Ledger Shredder's been played. I know it's a good card, but it is still not the best thing you can be doing at that.
No, of course
not. In Legacy. You either want to go bigger and play something like Teferi or Narset or something, or you want to go.
Ledger Shredder's played in a very specifically the alternate version of Delver. People who don't want to play the best version of Delver.
But yeah. It's like Arclight Phoenix, where you just want to. Or it's like I want to do this instead, even though it's basically the same deck, and it loses to that version of the deck, but it's more rewarding. So they and people said like, well, what about Minsk and Boo? What about that's such a stupid. I ain't even saying it.
But that's a commander card, and I like. If anything, I think that like the cards that are designed for multiplayer, 4-player formats, having such a negative impact on Legacy is a net negative. It's just worse.
I did play against Minsk and Boo and was kind of irritated by it, but I did not think it was as bad. I still don't think anything's as bad.
I think
still think anything is as bad as Urza Saga.
I really wish they could push more stuff in that rug color pie towards a control deck, so you don't just have to play tempo.
But there's nothing else to do. Every deck
there's currently nothing else to do. But like we're slowly getting closer to
there's no reward for going bigger in blue. Really, I mean, there's that like I said, I think it's that bug deck. But you don't see it. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I guess I'm just saying that it's like, okay, so that gets to the next point. Why can't they do a Legacy panel? And then every time you say that, which I did, I was like, why don't we do it? Everyone's like, oh, everyone's got first of all, it's the immediate deflection. People are going to be so mean to the people who are on the Legacy panel that no one's going to want to do it. Like, I don't care. Like, you want to, all I have to do is not like read mean tweets from nerds.
I'll ban every one of your mean tweets.
I don't care. I don't like.
I will be the guy. It's like
they're
you're the goblin guy.
It is a little bit. It is a little bit of like concern trolling. Like it's like, I don't want that to happen. What they really mean is I don't want to do it, and I don't want it to be done to me. No, they don't want to do it. They don't want it to be done to them. Therefore, they say that we just can't do it because it's so bad. Like, well, yeah, maybe, but also like I don't want. If the format's fun to play for more people, that won't happen. Yeah, and exactly. I think then that's where you got to start. Like everyone's in a pissy mood all the time because they don't They want to enjoy playing this game. They cannot enjoy playing because it's not fun. Not as fun.
I think the other thing
And
for
two,
panels in that
you
regard,
just ignore
go ahead,
it.
sorry.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like you should be like, okay, like whatever, like I know what I'm signing up for, and if it's really bad, I'll quit doing it. But like, I mean, we did this podcast for years, and people disagree with us and said things to us sometimes, and like, you know, I don't remember any of it at this point. So what difference does it make? Like, I mean, now like people will disagree with any panel. I guess they're like, oh, the Popper panel is actually doing bad. Like, doesn't seem like it to me. I don't know, but like. Yeah, I mean, that is how it is. And right now, all we do is yell at Wizards of the Coast anyway. So we're still yelling at people, even if we don't, even if it's not personalized.
That's why it's bad. That's why they perceive it to be bad, because they're not doing anything and people are upset.
Yeah,
you know, so they assume that doing something is going to make people upset because all they get is people that are upset. And we should stop talking about the ban list though and move on, because we could fill 5 hours about talking about.
And I guess what I'm saying is
list.
I mean, to close out, it's just to say that like the panel would be good. That is what you want. You don't want to admit it because you don't want to admit that someone who is not you might have this control.
Yeah.
For some reason. And it's like I mean, I personally don't care about it either way. I just would think it'd be so much more interesting if there's a bias toward action as opposed to inaction.
Yeah.
So
I agree with action as opposed to inaction. I also think that like as long like I think the limiting factor every time is always just going to be transparency of information. If you are making if the panel is making a decision, if it's not clear as to why they're making the decision with the data that they're making that decision with, everybody's going to go, I don't know how you came to this conclusion. I will make up why and then argue about it.
Well, I would just be like,
go on.
I would just send Joe some money. In the panel budget or whatever, you have a little bit of a stipend for the panel members. You have a little bit of a stipend for Joe. And be like, we're using Joe's data. This is what we're saying. If you don't like it, then you got to play in those. That's where we're drawing the data from. I don't really care about like, because look, for years it has been the case that most legacy does not really look like the Magic Online data that they use anyway. Like when I was in, when I was in Utah, there was a time period where like, there were like 3 people playing Allure Index in like a 14 player weekly every week. Like that's not reality. I mean, that's not like a replicable reality. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Just be like, look, you look at this thing, it's fucked up. If it's what's that stupid guy, Murktide region, just know it's dumb. You know how it feels to play against it. You just know there's nothing to say. Sorry, you want to move on.
Well, the last thing on that is even if the one thing that the Pauper excuse me, the one thing that the Pauper format has managed to do too is recognize a mistake and go back on it. So they ban something and then unbanned it.
Which you never see. Like it takes years. Yeah. Years
which you're never
like that to
happen. And then people are like, people are not going to like it if you're doing it with their really expensive cards. Like we're not going to ban and unban Volcanic Island. Now, maybe Volcanic Island should be banned. But no, I'm just kidding. but I will say that again, going back to Phil's original point to segue into this about the heritage format that's being started and pre-modern existing, like you're just going to get the legacy panel anyway. It's just not going, you're just going to get that. Your only opportunity to play it because you live in the place where this is where the most organized version of this card pool is going to be it's going to be someone else's thing. So you might as well try and get Wizards to do it now before that fractionalization happens. I do not see another real future. That's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next year. But like after another couple of years, just they're not being big legacy tournaments. Like people aren't going to want to do it. They're going to, and Wizards putting out increasingly nutty stuff. Like, are there post Malone cards? Are those legal in Legacy?
They will be.
Yeah.
I haven't even looked at them. I just saw it I honestly just saw it in passing.
Well, it's going to be a secret layer. It's going to be a secret layer. So it hasn't come out yet. We don't know what those cards are, but he will have his own secret layer.
Absolute. By the way, God, he was in a commercial for something else that I am also into. And I was just sitting there with my wife being like, that could have just been me. Like, that guy's he's not in better shape than me or anything. Like he's still a schlubby like white guy. Like it could have just been me. What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? Like he likes Magic the Gathering and whatever the other thing was, and he makes average music in his advanced age, just like me.
I mean, we all make average music, right? We could easily any one of us could be.
Any one of us could have been him. Yeah. All right. So
let's talk about Magic 30th anniversary.
Okay. Well,
so proxies are coming.
Well, I think so this has so many just awful things that it does. I mean, when I say awful, I shouldn't be awful. It's more like it's just so revealing. Oh, remember when they said like we can't use the old art because of this or that? we can't use the old border because this or that. Like that bullshit. Like we can't, our printing process doesn't let us do it. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyone with a printer can make these, so clearly you can.
I want to start by saying one thing. I'm going to play devil's advocate here and tell you why this is a positive thing. Because Wizards officially being like, it's fine, use proxies. Like Mark Rosewater has that tweet. It's like, don't
That's not what he
call
said.
cards real or not real.
That's not what he said.
You know?
That's
he
not
said,
what he said.
No, he said he didn't want to differentiate between not real cards and real cards, right? Like,
but the context on that, cards, the context on that was people complaining about Transformers cards. Transformers cards that you can play legally, and he said those are still real Magic cards because they're in the Magic game. Now, of course, that gets to the point of like, what is the Magic game? Is the Magic game the original story that has been developed over 30 years?
It is the mechanics that exist on those cards, in my opinion.
Well, no, I don't think it is. I don't think it has to be that. I don't think
it doesn't have to
again,
be, but I mean, the reality is
stop?
that's what Magic the Gathering is.
Can't you play as Peter Griffin in Fortnite? And like, isn't that a fly-by-night fucking nonsense? Right, but that's bullshit. No one likes Fortnite. No one sticks around with Fortnite for 30 years. No one's going to care in 30 years what the first edition of Fortnite looks like, the way they care about the first edition of Magic, which is what this product indicates, that there is, Wizards of the Coast has identified a market for like people who do want these old cards in packs in a certain way. And look, their implementation of it is monstrous to an extent. I mean, I really don't care. You don't have to buy it. I don't really. I think that a lot of these people, like Evan Irwin and Cedric Phillips, were like, "Oh, these are going to sell out. Like, you guys are going to be all owned." Like, I don't give a shit if it sells out. Just like I don't care about fucking like any sort of limited edition sneaker selling out. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't have to care.
You don't have your Jace Bellerin sneakers?
Just because I have a closer connection to that does not mean I have to care about this product. They have told me not to do that. So like, oh, well, someone's going to buy this and then it's going to quadruple in value in a couple of years and you're going to feel stupid for not buying. Like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't care. I don't care.
This is a big, this product is not for you. And it's the one time I agree with that statement.
Well, it isn't. It is an attempt. They are not doing what they say they're doing, which is like, we think people want a chance to open these cards in packs again. Well, yes, people do, but that's not worth $1,000 to them. I mean, how much? I mean, you could just buy a beta pack for $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, they're probably more than that, but like, I'm just saying, like, you don't need to do it, or you could just like, if I've got $1,000, you could buy, and like, I'm going to spend $1,000 because I want to get a non-tournament legal Mox. Just get CE.
Nate, there has to be like a parallel to like all this build up for just like a very small second of an amazing feeling. I can't think of it off the top of my head. You guys, I don't know.
Like a German word?
No. I mean, I'm talking about sex. But
that's what I was thinking. But I was like,
yeah. But no. But what I'm saying is like that. To me, like the idea that someone would be like, oh, it's totally worth it to spend $1,000 for that like 2 seconds of nostalgia. That's insane to me. Like, get out of here for that. That's
so it's not meant to be open. That's of course the unwritten part of it. Which is
what
I'm not. Evan Irwin said, like, you don't buy it, you're not going to open it.
I'm not opening it. It's literally just it's Bitcoin, but for Magic cards. Like,
it's a security. It's a security. It's a collectible.
Between other people to like next year it'll be worth $500. Next year it'll be worth $400. The year after that it'll be worth $700. Like, it's literally physical Bitcoin.
I don't feel no, Zach. Bitcoin is just virtual art, which is what it all is.
I mean, isn't that the same? Like,
it's a store of value. It's a security
property of math. It's the same thing, right?
But no, anything that you open, even if you were to open this, it will never be. It cannot be, because it cannot ever be opening a beta Black Lotus in 1994, because that feeling is gone forever. It will stay in 1994. This is The Simpsons season 30. This product. That's what it is. There is nothing. You will never, ever be able to recreate
does feel like
the
a Simpsons joke, right?
Well, you will never, ever be able to recreate the Simpsons, the conditions that made The Simpsons a revolutionary and groundbreaking and transcendent experience in 1996. Just like you will never be able to do the same thing with Magic. You cannot recreate it. You cannot recreate that, and you cannot sell it as a thing that people can buy. You cannot do that. So instead, you're basically being like, look, we're making these collector's edition thing. We're making another kind of collector's edition. And if the wink, wink, you get the chance to open a pack, but really what's going to happen is you're going to buy them, you're going to stick them in a deposit box, and then maybe you're going to resell them. Again, I don't know to who or for what purpose in a few years, and you're going to make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Because they have no real, they're not valuable as proxies, because the point of proxies is that you don't pay for them, or you don't pay full price for them.
You don't pay the same amount of money for them. I mean, like, dude,
Like,
I have a ton
would
of proxies, because like we play old school and pre-modern and stuff. I have a ton of proxies, and you know what? They're very close to looking like, yeah, exactly.
I have a CE Lotus. I use it once a year, maybe. Yeah. And other than that, it's just like a kind of a cool thing to have. But I also traded for it. I didn't have to pay cash for it and open packs. And like, so the question is like, okay, well, people buy these, open them, and then sell the singles, and then what? So I'm going to buy $1,000 fake piece of power, like Time Twister is legal in EDH. So I buy $1,000 time, which I could do right now. You can buy $1,000 Time Twister right now from CE, and it's the same thing. So again, the market, to the extent that it exists, isn't there. Or Wheel of Fortune. Is Wheel of Fortune banned in Commander?
No.
Oh, no. I thought it was. I thought that was bad. It doesn't matter. But like, that's the thing. Like, that's okay. I'm gonna buy. Like,
that's why this $400 value outside of like playing old school or whatever. But like,
but still, barely.
It's
like
wild.
Because like the price point precludes that. So either a bunch of people lose money on it, which will then indicate that it was a stupid idea, people will be mad, or it just is like, oh, great. So like there's just more revised plateaus, basically, right? Because it'll be the same price as a revised plateau, but you're gonna get a fucking new border fake ass plateau, but you could just buy a revised plateau for $200 anyway.
You know what's wild about all this? I don't know if you noticed this, Nate. They're using the plateau art from like Unlimited, right?
Right.
Like the OG plateau art that they seem to have lost.
There was a file corruption, but they are able. But there's higher definition scans now, I suppose. So
I guess. I don't know. I was. Just
it doesn't.
Like, what?
Again, like this product. The product is just. It's just an indication. Like they're just trying to get free money, which is basically what it is. It's not really for players, even though they're going to lie and say it is. People are mad about it because what people are mad about is the thing I started talking about. That like they're just lying about everything that they say about the reserve list and about that they can't print the cards in the old border and they can't use the original art. It's all bullshit. It's all nonsense. It's all a lie. And I think people expect that for some reason the Wizards of the Coast Corporation is going to be any more their friend than any other corporation.
No way.
And they're not. It's just like they're not your friend. They don't want to do it.
They've been
which is why.
Yeah, they've been giving us like scratchy lotto tickets for the last like, I don't know what, like 20 years. Basically,
isn't it also the illusion of opportunity? It's the illusion of opportunity cost, right? It's like because they did this, they didn't do something else that we may have liked, as though there's a limit on the capacity for what they could do.
I think the real thing is the amount of FOMO that people are feeling is the big thing, right? Like,
well, there is because like I could be like, all right, like $1,000, and I'll stick them in my buyer box and see what happens. Like the worst case scenario is I sell them for $700. You know, like hardly the worst Magic related investment I've ever made, right?
I've lost more money on dumber shit for sure. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm saying like I paid full price for Tarmogoyfs, and like that's not coming back.
I almost paid $200 per Tarmogoyf at one point.
But I got the use out of the Tarmogoyfs. Like I enjoyed having them for a time period. And these are but buying packs and sticking them in your firebox is not really doing anything for you unless you get unless you are a pure collector who gets thrill out of that, which there are people who like that. They like look at online, look at the line going up and down, and that's fine. That's for those people, but I don't think it has any. I don't think this thing should really, like, most players are going to just ignore it, and they should. And then there's going to be a few years to be like, haha, you look like an idiot because I'm selling this for $4,000 now. Like, sure, but that you could have done that with anything. So what difference does it make to me?
So I have a fun Magic joke that I just came up with. So you've got like, Vorthos is like the guy who likes the flavor. Timmy is the guy who likes big creatures. Spike is the competitive player. Johnny is the combo player. What do you call a person that just collects Magic?
I don't know. What do you call it? Because like, those people have existed.
Morthos.
I didn't realize this was a bit. Sorry.
This was a bit. I said I had a joke. I got jokes.
But either way, I don't mean like whatever. Like it is what it is. It is just it is for the collector's market that now they are just basically explicitly targeting. But the funny thing, I mean, the thing that helps me sleep at night is knowing how miserable this makes all the people there feel. Like, look, yes, you are participating in a monstrous system of exploitation, and there is no way you can ever change that. That is just what your life is.
Yeah.
And it must suck when it kicks you in the fucking teeth. But that's how it is, and that's how we all have to live like that. We all are living in that same world, so there's not really anything you can do.
Yeah.
I guess, like, to me, maybe the best case scenario is that this thing, the bunch of people do open them, and you get a bunch of cool looking or like, decent, because it does suck to like get your proxies and they're not quite right. Like, you'll get the right weight. Like, I have my gold border academy rectors for pre-modern. I've got my CE stuff. Like, I've got some of this stuff just because, like, it's worth.
I think the thing that's worth mentioning about this, also on the quote unquote good side, is like, if you look at the textured foils from the last set from Dominaria United, that was like the big chase thing. You could only get those in the collector boosters. I just bought almost every single textured foil from that set for Commander, like 30, 40 cards, something like that, for like $30, because like no one cares. So there's going to be some amount of financial fallout from this, where like you can get a good deal on like a black bordered old stasis or something like that. So like that's the thing to keep an eye on as these things get open and people are like,
you're not going
just try. Well, there's going to be people that open them and are like, I have to sell off the not Black Lotus to like kind of get some of my money back. So there's going to be some amount of that happening. You're going to find deals on some of these cards. So it's I
wonder if this popped up in your Facebook feed, because like someone was saying that in the pre-modern group, like, I can get a black bordered old bordered stasis. I'm like, yeah, but you could just do that now.
I mean, you could spend $20 on a CE stasis, and it's like I have 5 CE stasises,
or like a foreign one, of course. Like it's it's good, but like this version of the new border stasis, like it doesn't look anymore like the beta version, because it doesn't have the cool. It's not going to have. It's never going to, again, unreplicable. You cannot replicate a time period. You can't replicate those conditions. So it's just going to look like a Magic Online printout anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's going to have the weirdo back. And it's fine if that's what you want.
But like pre-modern or whatever, or like,
I think people think these singles are going to be like $20, but no one's going to want that because they spent $1,000 fucking dollars.
They'll drop in price. Like the stuff that's not power is going to drop in price. You're going to be able to find like a black bordered Shivan Dragon that you can throw into your old school deck for pennies on the dollar. Like.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I
don't think people will do it. I think they will. I think they will hoard them. They will always be waiting for the bigger payday.
No, because they need to get that money back. Like the people who are flipping these are opening like 40, 50, hundreds of packs, and all they want to do is get that Black Lotus so they can mark it up to like $5,000, right?
Open invitation.
They're spending $40,000 to make $5,000 off a Lotus. That is terrible. No one is going to do that.
They have to sell the bulk as well, though.
Open invitation to whoever the whale is out there actually buying this stuff to come on and explain to us what we're missing.
Yeah, I would love it. Please,
they're going to say they're going to buy it, stuff it in the fucking firebox, and laugh at us in 6 years when they sell it to some other whale for 2.5x.
Dude, I want the whale to come on. I want the whale to come on and just play the clip of you saying that and then hop off the call. That'd be great.
And that's fine. I don't care. I'm saying, like, I'm not really like, it's a lot like, oh, these whales are close. Like, I don't care what these people do. Like, they're gonna do it with Bored Apes. They're gonna do it with fucking Stradivarius or whatever. They're not doing what Stradivarius is anymore, but I just watched Homer's Barbershop Quartet, and I had to explain to my son what all the stuff Homer was pulling out and calling junk. Like, I'm like, oh, that's the upside down airplane. It was used to be known that this was the most valuable collectible. Anyway, so like I don't really care. Like, more power to those people, but it is just like, but what you should be thinking about as players, like, hey man, if they're pulling this cord right now, like, they're on the backup parachute.
That's actually a good point.
They're on the plane, hurtling to the ground, and they pulled the first parachute, and that was what we're making Transformers cards. And like, we're pulling the second parachute, and that's we're making fake reserve list cards. And the next parachute is probably just like
what's the equivalent of like stacking like 20 mattresses on the ground and sort of like underneath of you to try, because is that like just reprinting power straight up, just like selling like you're like, this is tournament legal, we don't even care anymore.
Isn't power on Arena?
Yeah,
Is power on Arena?
It's on Arena because it is a like, it's from like the cards that make
That's
there's
so
like
funny,
cards
by
that
the
make
way.
power.
God,
You know,
we haven't even-
like that's like Garth. Like Garth does that. Garth the One Eye, like you tap him and he makes like different cards. So that's
It is
fine.
so funny. It is so funny that they're doing that. Like conjure the power 9. I think that's so funny. Because remember, you cannot reference the stack. You cannot reference a thing in the game rules, but you can reference a colloquialism from outside the game.
Yeah. Well,
they're gonna be like, this creature enters the battlefield, then becomes Bob, and we're gonna understand that Bob is like the Ravnica version of Dark Confidant.
Yeah.
And it becomes your choice of Bob or Tiago, and we're gonna have to like run that through our esoteric reference, like not us, but like the people behind it, but still cannot say stack. I just think that's so funny. Again, what you should be learning from this is that this company does not care about you. They are just they don't, and I'm not saying that because they think they're all bad people. It's just like, that's just how it works, man. That's just how it works. When BMW says they're gonna like offer us, you have to pay a software licensing fee so that you can like heat your seats in the EU.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that doesn't mean everyone at BYU is all, or BYU, but everyone at BYU is awful. Sorry, just kidding, just kidding. To any of my old Utah friends, no, it doesn't mean everyone at BMW is awful. It just means that, like, hey, here's a thing that we could probably get people to pay for.
Yeah,
and they're gonna
another.
They always think about it, and it doesn't matter.
Shout out to the person on Reddit who told me to check out Climate Town, because they actually talk about that exact thing, where he's like, you know, these companies, like your bank is like taking money and putting into the oil industry, and then they're pretending like they're helping.
They cannot do anything else. That's why I think there's like a bunch. This is a little ancillary, but there's a whole argument going on about like whether or not banks should do that. And like it's woke banks that are doing that, and we're going to do the anti-woke bank that's still going to fund fossil fuels. Like, of course they're still going to get funded. Like, there's nothing else. There's no replacement for this. Like, they're just going to keep trying to do it. And in Wizards of the Coast, or Hasbro's case, which I think is so funny. Like, it's funny because how long ago did Hasbro buy Wizards? It was like 20 something years ago.
It was in the year 2000, I believe.
And
might have been
guess
99.
You know what Hasbro did by buying Wizards of the Coast? They bought that's the equivalent of buying these collector packs, because they sat on them for 20 something years, and then when suddenly no one wanted to buy toys anymore. Again, that's the thing I have some expertise in, because I used to work for the toy magazine, and even in 2007 when I was doing that, it was like, oh, all kids just have fucking cell phones now. What are we gonna do with toys? Anyway, now that they don't
quote my buddy Toy Galaxy.
Yeah, they just need to find another thing. And guess what? They've got this thing with this that like requires some sort of input every year. You know, it's funny because like my son, you know, he's interested, he watches YouTube all the time, and we have to monitor and he's not watching anything insane, but like he'll get into like history of video game type stuff on YouTube, and like he'll be like, the Switch is 5, you know, how old is the Switch? I'm like, it's pretty old. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't understand how it used to be in the 90s, when every 3 years he would get a new system. Now that's not the case. Now you get a new system because like you just don't need to. There's nothing to cap. There's nothing to.
The technology is meeting reality.
They don't need you.
You know?
Yeah, they don't need you to buy a new system in order to sell you a new game. They just sell you DLC. They sell you this. They sell you that, and suddenly you don't get a new system for 5 years. And in some ways, if you're not the kind of person who needs to stay up on everything like me, because I just play the Super Nintendo games on my Switch anyway, I don't really care if they're building a new system. I prefer them to stick with the Switch so that
I'm about almost to the very end of my billionth playthrough of Zelda 2 right now on the Switch.
Right, I've never played Zelda 2. I actually was telling my son about that.
It's the best Zelda.
But I guess what I'm saying is, no, I'm just saying that, like, you know, all the models change, and this is Hasbro's implementation, because there isn't a new Super Soaker every year. Like there used to be when we were fucking kids. That's what it was. There's a new Super Soaker. There's Malibu Stacy with a brand new hat. Again, making a Simpsons reference to the 90s, because that is exactly what everyone thinks that's what things are. But the Simpsons now is not that. Just like anything else now is not that.
To quote Toy Galaxy, which is a great YouTube channel about toys, Hasbro, until all are one, which is a Transformers reference.
I don't know. Sorry, Phil. I know I'm shouting a lot. You're not going to get a chance to talk, but
no, bro, you are on the cast. I want you to talk a lot.
but it is like, it's very interesting to watch. I think that like, I mean, it's interesting to watch in general. It is one of those things where it's like, okay, like I'm 39, right? Maybe I shouldn't care about Magic anymore anyway. But that was also probably true when I was 29. Like, if you
Sure.
really want to make a case about it, and it wasn't then.
What else am I gonna do?
Like, that is sort of the point.
How am I going to
trying to make.
contribute to society otherwise? Let's be honest.
Well, what's interesting about it to me is just like, look, like, no, like, you don't really have to give anything up. The only thing that happens is that things can change, right? And like the decisions they've made, it's really not been about whether or not I enjoy playing Magic, because like I was talking about early, sometimes I do like just want to like log on to Magic Online or go to like our meetups and just jam a few games because it's still fun and in some way. But like, no, I don't really care about staying on top of everything anymore, even like I used to, you know, like 6 or 7 years ago, because like the new things they're doing, I just don't care about, and it does not resonate with me.
I would argue all like that exact idea, that because there's so many more formats, products, things to keep up on. Even Forsyth was like, there's no way that everybody can know all of the cards that are printed nowadays because there's just so many. Like, it would be insane for everybody to know all of the cards, like previously when you would just know the entire playable card pool. He's like, there's no way with the amount of product and variations of the product that come out now that would be a realistic thing to do. And he was like, we recognize that. Forthlight had said that. But I think that's all that
we're gonna have him on the show eventually.
Yeah, maybe.
The idea that everybody can't keep up with everything is all the more reason to really focus and curate the formats that people focus on in a healthy way, because I'm not going to be like, it's very like, I don't plan on branching out into other non-competitive formats. You know, like, I'm not going to learn the new arena format or whatever. Essentially, I don't want to go too far off topic. What I'm saying is,
no, you can go ahead.
The people who are committed to the formats that they play, whether it's modern, legacy, whatever, if the pool is going to get spread so thin and the products are going to go so wide, that the people who are committed to those products should at least be taken care of to making sure that format is healthy, because that's the minimum amount of effort required to still make the product sustainable for those players.
I'm scared this is going to go off for too long, but there was a post the other day from someone, I want to say it was Drew Levin. Is that the guy? Is that a Magic player name?
Drew Levin is a person, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, it just again was sort of retweeted into my feed, and it was like, competitive Magic was always kind of a scam between like the top players. And for years that was Wizards of the Coast, but that was for years what Wizards of the Coast sold you. It was like you could, and I'm like, I'm not saying it is or isn't. And he's saying, well, it's good that there's no competitive Magic because it was actually just not really good to begin with. That all may be true.
Well, yeah, the value prop on that is so insane. Like, they're selling you a dream of being famous through Magic.
But they're fundamentally changing what they're trying to attract you with. They're trying to attract you with collector's items, because like most cards in standard regular sets are not worth anything, but their special version is. And like, yeah, but like, you didn't have to do that. Like, when the goal was like, I'm playing this game because I enjoyed the gameplay. And like, I don't really care about maintaining. I mean, people always did with Magic, which has always made it hard. But like, people like will be like, no, I'll buy, like, that's what Spike was. Spike will buy cards even if they're going to lose value because they're good the next day, right?
Yep.
And most people were that. And like, now it's like, oh, like, the gameplay doesn't matter as much because you got a zillion options, or you're playing at the kitchen table. And like, now the thing you get out of this thing is that like, maybe you like have a like, you know, I don't know, like scratch and sniff foil version of something, and that is going to be a thing that you can sell.
Scratch and sniff is most definitely in the next unset.
I mean, they put fucking stickers in the set. God damn it.
Scratch and sniff is coming.
So, but on the other hand, but the thing is, like, the reason Magic was a going concern for 20 years before they made that strategy shift is gone. And like, yes, they're gonna be constantly looking to acquire new people as people like us just kind of drop off and are not playing their 11 new formats. And I don't think, and that's what I'm saying, like, I think that like, that's going to fundamentally change a lot. And it gets back to what we were saying at the beginning of the legacy ban list. It means that like, they don't care about the ban list. What difference does it make? They're going to just make a new format. Make a new format. You can just play the way you want to play in that format. And then you have to decide whether or not it's worth it for you to buy in or not. And for some amount of people, it's going to be worth it to be like, well, I don't like how Legacy plays, so I'm going to play. I'm just picking these out of thin air. I don't like how Legacy plays, but I like playing with Knight of the Reliquary, so I'm going to play in Modern. Again, I know it's not. I'm just picking names out of it.
Yeah.
I don't like, but I like, so I'm going to play Modern. And then some people are going to be like, yeah, I don't like how Legacy plays, and I want to play Knight of the Reliquary, but not enough to like buy a bunch of shock lands and all this other shit. What else is on? What else is on? There's something else. There's something else to do. You know?
Yeah, it's the TikToking of Magic the Gathering, where you just keep flipping to the next thing.
And they're making a Gambit. Maybe the Gambit works. I'm not saying it does or doesn't. It's just, it's fundamentally different. I think that's what we'll understand. And that's how it is.
I think we should stop there. I also want to add, like that, we're not going to stop playing Legacy because of any of this, like it just kind of is what it is.
That idea, but that's what I'm talking about. Like the players who are committed to certain formats, like all of the shit that's happened, even without, like, the ban list is gone, and then everybody gets on Twitter and gets upset that they're like, oh my god, this sucks, and like we may have another falling out where we lose a bunch of Legacy players from the format and all this stuff. It's like, did we lose any of those? Like, was there a massive loss of Legacy players at the first one? Are those players going to come back? Who knows? We don't actually have any data to show whether or not those anecdotes are true or not. But regardless, there is going to be a large portion of of Legacy or any format of the players that are still going to play it.
Yep.
And the volume of resources that it takes to just make those formats remain palatable for people, despite all of the new influx of product, is literally just show any amount of care or relevance to that it's like on your wavelength at all. Like, even if they were like, guys, no bans, here's the data that we pulled from, here's why we made our choices, clear as day. You may disagree with it, but here's why we did it. We'll come back to it in 6 months and reevaluate based on the next set of data that we'll show you. That would kibosh this entire episode.
But they can't do it. They can't do it because they got to be the smartest people. They got to be the smartest people and make the rightest decisions. All right. Well, sorry, I know you got to go.
Yeah. So anyhow, Nate, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
it's been great having you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, good to be back.
One last thing before we go, we got a shout out to our sponsor. Let's talk about MoxField.com. MoxField.com is an amazing website where you can. It's a deck building website that you can use on your PC, on your Mac, on your phone, on your Android phone, on your Apple phone. It's just one of the best ways to build decks on the internet today. So you should check it out at MoxField.com. And I think that's it for us today on the cast.
Nate, love having you on the cast, bro. Please come back more often. Just now that we all hate everything, let's just come back and be the third co-host all the time.
Maybe. All right.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
All right, go Bill.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out this other video. You'll probably like it.